Hey, are you trying to decide if the CertainTeed Presidential shingle is the right choice for your house? Well, I'm going to show you that shingle installed on real homes, and we actually get to talk to a real homeowner who just recently went through this whole decision about, do I put Presidential on my house or do I put a different shingle on my house? So his roof before was just kind of a standard style dimensional shingle that you see on most houses. And so when it came time to re-roof the house, the decision was, do I put that same style of shingle back on or do something that has a little bit different look for it? Well, he ended up going with the Presidential, and that's what we want to talk to him about today, is the why behind all that. All right, so Mark, what made you start looking at the Presidential shingle even in the first place?
I think it was Thanksgiving week where we finally got the insurance rep and you out on the roof, and a meeting of the minds that, yay, verily, there's enough damage to justify a new roof.
So there was a several month long process, but even in that several months, there was a point at which you kind of started the process of thinking through, what shingle do I want to put on? So what was behind the idea? I mean, where did you even think first of the Presidential shingle, right? What made you even think that this is a shingle that I want to put on?
So you dropped off those shingle boards. I think you gave me 4 or 6 of them. I held them hostage for 6 months. A couple of them were the Presidential shake. You know, you had the different lines of Presidential shake. And then a couple of the ones were the more standard, but included some IR options as well. To answer your question on Presidential shake, we owned another home in Colorado up in Fort Collins, and it was almost 20 years ago. It was original wood shake shingles, and it got hit by hail. The whole neighborhood just was getting new roofs. And so because it was a wood shake, that was a premium roof. And so that time the insurance company said, yeah, we'll go ahead and replace it with a premium shingle. So we installed at that time, pretty sure it was a Presidential shake TL, the triple laminate version.
Okay.
And 20 years later, we still own that house. 20 years later, I go up there and I look at it and I thought, oh my God, this roof almost looks brand new.
That's cool.
It has really, really stood the test of time. And so when it came time to do this house, I just naturally gravitated towards the Presidential shake. You know, it's always a consideration between performance and cost, and you ran all the estimates for me, and we were waiting to kind of see what the insurance numbers would be. And then, but I think I was always leaning towards Presidential shake. It was just Presidential shake or Presidential shake IR. And the big determinant on that, this may sound vain, but the big determinant on that was color.
Oh.
And so,
because there's different colors in those 2 different lines. Yeah.
You gave me a bunch of addresses in town. My wife and I doodly drove around looking at these houses, trying not to be stalkers, and just looking at them in person to try to decide on the color.
Mark, what other shingle were you considering, or shingles were you considering in addition to the Presidential? Because you were trying to weigh the decision between this one or this one, but what was the other one?
I think they were all CertainTeed. If I remember correctly, it might have been Northgate and Climate Flex.
Yep, the Northgate Climate Flex, yeah.
And I really think just like the dimensionality of the Presidential shake. So I just kept coming back to that one.
Was that your go-to, like from the start, or were you ever really seriously thinking about the Northgate?
I think I was leaning towards Presidential shake from my history, almost from the start. We did need to see what the cost would be insurance-wise, how much it would be out of pocket. And so in the back of my mind, I kind of felt, well, if it's going to be too expensive, then I have a tough decision to make. You know, do I want to put a lot of money out of pocket to get the look that I want?
Yeah.
Or can I just go with a good standard shingle and, just call it a day?
Now, as you went through this process, and you're thinking about a more expensive shingle, which you're going to have to come out of pocket for because your insurance company is not going to pay for that. Maybe including that, or apart from that, was there anything about going with a presidential shingle, going with a more expensive upgraded shingle that gave you any hesitation?
I think it was just the color. I think I even mentioned to you, I don't want to make a $35,000 mistake.
Yes, exactly right.
With color. And our house is like greenish gray, so I wanted something to match, and I didn't think brown would do it. And so then it just came down to, I was looking at these samples. I went to the showroom. I think I told you that. Their lights were burned out that particular day, so I'm there with my flashlight trying to look at the samples. So
your cell phone flashlight?
Yeah. So the only hesitation was color, because I know the shingle is going to perform.
Well, see, now that's interesting that you brought that up, because we actually did a video about how to avoid choosing the wrong shingle color. And I talked about the fact that you went through this whole decision and you didn't want to make what would ultimately end up being a lifetime mistake. Mm-hmm. Or like you say, a $35,000 mistake. Why put on a shingle, you put on a shingle, you're uncertain about the color, and then when it's on, it's not like if you paint your room the wrong color and you can just paint it again. You put on a shingle, it's there for the rest of your life, right? Now, if you're in your 20s, maybe not, but you and me, that's probably a lifetime decision. So that's smart that you thought that through in that way, instead of just like listening to the roofer that says, oh yeah, I think you should go with this color or whatever. People do that too. So like I talked about at the beginning of this video, one of the factors that was kind of weighing on your mind was that looking at the sample boards wasn't really an adequate way to make your decision. So walk us through how you did your investigation for what is presidential going to look like on my house? How did you get an idea of what it was going to look like on your house?
So the sample boards were good because you could at least determine the quality, the thickness of the shingles from one to the other.
Yeah.
But you're right, the color sections were, 3x3 square or something like that, unless it was the primary color. So I went on CertainTeed's website. You can upload a photo of your house, and it's kind of helpful, but it's also a little bit limited. It looks a little, I don't know.
Not representative.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably.
It looks a little artistic versus realistic. And then, so I already mentioned we drove around, looked at colors, but again, didn't want to slow down and gawk too long, so that was relatively quick. But then I think I also watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I remember you did a video in Flying Horse where you did a tale of two shingles, I think it was called.
Yeah.
So link right here. But you
link up here.
link right here. But you didn't really talk about the color on that one.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh gosh, what does that? But it was brownish, and so a few other roofers, really nationwide, have done videos, and I kind of watched as many videos as I can, waiting and hoping to see if they would say, okay, this is the color. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you can read it in the comments and say, okay, yeah, that was this. And then I finally zeroed in on either weathered wood or classic weathered wood, and I believe we went with the weathered wood.
Right, yeah. Now that it's all installed, it's all done, your lifetime decision is made, how do you think it looks compared to like the standard shingles that your neighbors all have?
I like it. I like it because you don't have that set row line of where one row of shingles overlaps with another row. You really can't tell just because of the way they're designed. I like the varied color. I think it goes fairly well with our stucco paint color.
Yeah.
And then if we were to choose a different paint color 5 or 10 years down the road, it'll match.
It's still going to work.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one of the big advantages to not going with a red shingle or a green shingle or something like that. Not that they make presidential in those kind of weird colors, but yeah, you go with a bold statement on the color, it really limits what you can do with your house color in the future.
Yeah.
Kind of ultimately, now on the back end of the whole project, does it look like what you expected it to look like?
I think so, yeah. I'm very pleased. The valleys, you called it a what, W? Gutter?
A W valley.
W
Yep.
valley. I like that look. We live in the pine trees, and so I was telling you in advance, it is hard to get pine needles out of a valley where the two shingles overlap.
Yeah.
And hopefully with the steel W valleys, that'll just be a little bit easier to...
Have any of your neighbors commented on it yet? I mean, the roof's only been on there a couple of weeks, so.
It has. I'm not sure. I think our neighbors across the street, you know, they were obviously well aware that we were getting a new roof for those 2 or 3 days. I guess it's probably 3 days.
Yeah.
They liked it. We're having an HOA barbecue this Saturday, so I'll update you if anybody else.
You have to leave a comment on the
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
That's good. Now, did you have sticker shock? Was it more expensive than you expected?
No, because you did a pretty good job,
Okay.
kind of keeping me posted. Going back to when it first started, you gave me the estimates, and then shingle prices go up, like everything else goes up. So it goes up a couple of times a year. I was trying to put a little bit of pressure on the insurance company to say, hey, listen, 1 April, we're going to see a price increase. And so you gave the final estimate to the insurance company, and I kind of knew what my out-of-pocket costs were going to be. So it is expensive. I got a sticker shock, yeah. But most things are expensive now.
Right. If you were going to go through the process again, let's say if you had to go through the process again, hopefully you don't ever have to, would you second guess your decision to go on with Presidential? I mean, would you make the same decision if we rolled back the clock 6 months, would you make the same decision?
I think so, absolutely. I like the look.
Yeah.
And way back in the day when I was in college, I spent my summers as a roofer, right? And so I maybe know a little bit more than the average consumer, and I just like the fact that there's no straight lines across the roof. It's designed to have this shake appearance.
Shake appearance, right?
Yeah, that's the
exactly.
name. Yeah.
Now, Mark, keep in mind that this video is for other homeowners, just like you were, who are trying to make their decision on which kind of shingle to go with. So what advice would you give the people that are watching the video as they're considering upgrading to a more expensive shingle, whether it's the Presidential or whether it's a Presidential style shingle? Do you have any thoughts or advice that you would give somebody?
I would say first, choose your roofer carefully. If you're in Colorado Springs, Homestead is a very good roofer to work with. Someone who's not demanding and pressuring, and certainly not somebody who knocks on your door after a hailstorm, because they're going to be out of town in about a week. So choose your roofer that's willing to be patient and kind of work through the process. Do your research. Go to the showroom if you can. Go to the showroom when the lights work.
Yeah, call ahead.
And if you can, look at real world examples. I think I've got most information from YouTube. So I'm watching different videos and then hoping they would talk about the colors. Once I locked in on Presidential Shake, hoping that they would lock in on the colors or talk about the colors. So, I had a better idea of which way to go.
Yeah, well, that's all good advice. So, Mark mentioned choose your roofer wisely. So if you need some help with that, you can actually watch this video right here.